Now let's have some fun with Excel. The charts. The charts can be pretty easy to insert. The challenge to charts is really making them understandable. Make sure that you know what you're saying on a chart. People can read a chart without looking at a data spreadsheet. So the good charts really tell a story, not just show a picture. So when you want to do a chart, the first thing you need to do is figure out what kind of chart you want. And if you go over to your Insert tab, and here's the different kind of charts. You can do a column chart. And the column chart compares data using vertical columns, like the name says. The line chart shows a trend over time. The pie chart shows the comparison of one slice or one piece of data compared to the whole. Then you've got the bar chart. The bar chart shows comparisons by using horizontal bars. Then the area chart shows the volume changes over time in relationship to the whole. Then the scatter chart is more used for scientific or engineering statistical data. And you have other charts here that you can use that you can take a look at if you want to. These donut charts are sort of interesting. The radar charts look strange, but you sure better be using them if the person that you're preparing the chart for understands them. Then in a little while, we'll get into these sparkline charts. But to start with, one of the things that you really need to watch and you need to be aware of is on page 81 of your book. And that is this chart that shows the terminology for the different areas of your chart. The first thing is your tick marks. Your tick marks are these little lines here that shows the breakpoints for each of these items. Like there's the 2000, there's the 1000. That's what the tick marks are. The grid lines are these lines in the background that actually helps you measure where the tick lines are. The vertical axis is your y-axis. Your horizontal axis is your x-axis, just like in your high school math and high school charting. The data marker is one of these single elements, like this blue mark right here. And the series of 4 or however many data markers that you have is called the data series. This set of 4 data markers is all for Britain. That's the data series for Britain. You can see the ones for United States. 4 data markers, that's the data series. The whole area here is the plot area, and this area right here that explains what each of these data markers stand for is the legend. So be sure that you know all of these different areas. Otherwise, when you go to create a chart, you're going to have a lot of problems. So let's go back over to Excel and let's start by making a chart. And you want to be careful when you go to make a chart. You don't want to include your totals because it will throw your chart all off. But what you want to include to make it the easiest is include your titles, because that way your titles will go into the legend. So I'm going to choose A5 through E10 in this chart. And then I'm going to go here to your Insert tab once again, and I'm going to look and say, okay, what kind of chart is it that I want to make? I want to make a column chart. When I click on the column chart, it gives me a whole series of different kinds of columns. You can play with whichever one you want, but I'm going to do a 3D column chart. And when I click on that, whoa, there's my chart. You see, by selecting your titles here, they go right into the legend. You select your column labels, and they go right into the headings here. So it's really nice That way you don't have to set up your legend. You don't have to set up your titles. Everything is there for you. Now what we need to do is take a look up here at the very top in your tabs. You see that you have a new tab, and that's your chart tools. Under your design tab, you can change your chart type now. If you say, oh, I don't like this 3D column chart, I can click change my chart type, and I can change it to whatever I want. I can change it to a pyramid one. I can change the data. If I want to say, oh, I don't want all of that data, I can go down here and I can select this data down here. And if I click OK, it's going to change to where I'm selecting that data. Now I've got the catering, treats, and accessories. But I'm going to hit Control Z and I'm going to go back to what I had before. So now the other things I can do is I can select my data, my chart layout. And if I open up this screen, you can look at your chart layouts. And what this does is it creates a placeholder for your title. And what I can do is I can change this and I can say bar. One of the things that I'm looking for when you create your charts, whether they be in your groups or for your independent challenges, I'm looking for titles. I'm looking for titles, not only your main title here, but I need titles, your horizontal axis title. I'm looking for your vertical axis title. So make sure that you use those. One thing that you can do, you see that these cells here are not formatted. So if I format them by dollars, look how it added your dollar signs into your chart. You also can change the chart style. So like we've done in Word and like we did earlier, you can change the colors. So you can have different colors here. You can change to a dark background. Make sure if you change to the dark background, you take into consideration this is going to take a lot of ink. So your employers probably will not like that at all. You can make it look more three-dimensional. This move chart location. This chart is currently embedded in the spreadsheet. It means that it is part of the spreadsheet. It may cover the data. You can move it over and it's right here. Your readers can see the data at the same time as they can see the chart. If you move the chart location, you can move it to a chart sheet. And what happens here, when you move it to a chart sheet, it is on a worksheet all by itself. When you look down here into the right-hand corner, you see chart 1, you see sheet 1. If I go back to sheet 1, there's my data. The advantage to this is if you want to print it, it prints it all by itself. You can, and that way you don't have people looking at the data at the same time as they're looking at the chart. So, and then if you decide, no, I want it back, I can move this chart back into an object in sheet 1. So I can click OK. Now it's back as an object in sheet 1. You can see both at the same time. Now, when we look at the layout tab, this section over here is the chart elements area. When you look at the chart elements area, if I want to look at the legend, I can click on this legend, and you see here how the legend is highlighted. I can click on the different categories. I can look at the series 1, and see what this does is it highlights every one of these series. And I can do what I want to this section. So if I want to select the legend, if I want the legend on the bottom instead, look, see there, it puts your legend on the bottom. Now I'm going to put it back because I don't want that. What I can do here is then when I go on over, I can add pictures, I can add any of these things. I can go to the chart title, overlay title, and what that does is it makes it part of the chart. The advantage to this is your chart elements and everything are larger because it doesn't take up as much room. But if you want it above the chart, your chart is slightly smaller, but your title is more legible. You can go to your axis titles, your horizontal axis title, and put it below it. And you can put expense, name your axis title, and this is what I said I'm going to be looking for. Expenses. So I can put a title here, and then if I want a primary vertical title, there's different ways to do a vertical title. Watch here. If I do a rotated title, and I want to title this, and I put dollars, you can put whatever it is you want there. And on layout, on your vertical axis title, you see how this is the other ways you can do your vertical axis title is you can change it to where your wording is up and down instead. Your letters are one above the other instead of vertical. I personally prefer the rotated one because I think you can read it a little bit easier than the letters one on top of the other. Now let's go on. You've got your data labels. You can turn your data labels on or off. If you show them, this is the actual values. If you have a very small figures or, like your numbers 1, 2, 3, this works. Most of the time it does not. Your data table, you can show a data table within yours. So if you want to show the information, the actual text, but that takes up a lot of room. So carefully keep in mind what you're going to do there. You can also rotate this. Say you want to rotate it however you want to. You see how this is rotating? You can rotate it however you want to make this more understandable. You can play with it however and have fun with it. That's the most important thing. You also can put shadows on here. You can put like a shadow on you can fill, you can put colors. You can change your chart however you want. Now, if you go to your format, on your format, you see how the border changed? There's a green border, purple border, blue border, orange. The orange is not real, to me, it's not real impressive because you've got blue text. But you can also do your fill. You can do your shape fill. You can fill whatever you want. You can also do your outlines. You can do a 3D rotation on your chart. But since this is already 3D, it's not working very well. I could make this word art instead here. Not very good, but you can change your text to word art. There is so many things that you can do to a chart to make it interesting. Just play with it. Have fun. Remember, on your independent challenge, you are asked for certain things. What I'm going to do is on your independent challenges, when you do it, if you do more than what the independent challenge asks for, I will give you extra credit because I think it's interesting to see some of the changes that you make. Okay, that's about enough for right at this moment. There will be a part 2 to this lecture, but it will be very short. Okay, so go ahead and take a break, and we'll see you back in a minute.